everyone. It's Coach Stacy and Coach Jesse from Living a Champion Life, and we are giving this as a bonus of our virtual workshop, the Resiliency Blueprint. And we decided we had so much fun and we had such a great time helping and coaching the people in our workshop the other night that we wanted to share this with the world. So here you go. Dive in. This is going to be recorded so you can replay it at any time. You can come back later and watch it, but I urge you, take the time, watch this, bring a notepad, and really dive in to the Resiliency Blueprint. Here we go.
If you haven't got a notepad, go get one now because you're probably going to want to take a couple notes. I promise there'll be some nuggets here for you.
Let's just go for it.
All right.
Come on.
So
you
look,
can pause it.
The Resiliency Blueprint. Okay, so resiliency is talked about a lot today, and it's really important that we build our own resiliency. So we're going to take you through a couple of examples of what resiliency looks like.
And first of all, what's the definition of resiliency?
Oh, being tough, being able to handle things over time, to not be knocked down and kept down, but being able to bounce back from things.
Like that song, you get knocked down,
That's
but
right.
I get up again.
That's right.
All right.
So it's number one, we're going to talk about the topic of overcoming adversity. Well, second, we'll go into role modeling and what does it mean to be a great role model. And then we're going to talk about a way that's a life hack of how you can build resiliency long term. Okay. So first of all, overcoming adversity. We're going to break this down into 4 key things that we know to be proven to help you overcome adversity and bounce back from when you get knocked down. So number one, first thing you need to do is acknowledge that you did get knocked down in the first place. So how bad did you get hit? Did you really get taken off your feet? Is it something where it's just more of an emotional in the now moment type of defeat? Or are you really facing a long uphill climb to bounce back from what you're being pressed on? So acknowledgement right off the bat is just so important. And I think that in our culture we get taught to avoid that part of it, where we acknowledge the feeling of what you're in right now, and we get taught to just plow forward and move on. But it's really important that you start there. Yeah. So second is making sure that you are future mindseted. I think it's really easy to get caught in the now and get caught in the past, especially where you cycle through your mind the pain of what you've been through, and you come up with all these reasons and all these ways that these difficult things happen to you, and then you kind of beat yourself up and say, oh, why did that happen to me, and how did that happen to me, and all those types of things. But really, we need to make sure that we acknowledge the past so that we can gain value from it, but then we let go of it in order to be able to move forward. And that's really important. So where are you now? Where actually are you now versus what happened to you, and where were you?
And this is really this is the part where I want you to start writing things down. Just take a couple notes. How are you feeling right now? And I think right now the entire world is feeling, obviously, the adversity from what just happened, the pandemic. I mean, we're living in it right now, right? We're living in this adversity. How can we rise up? How can we still live that champion life? And I think that we can just use these tools that Jesse's talking about right now to make that happen.
Absolutely. So the third thing is an obstacle identity. All right. So let's think about the things in our way. All right. When we get knocked down, there's usually 1 or 2 big bad monsters that we can put our finger on and be like, yeah, there's the culprit. That's the thing that's in my way, that's preventing me from getting back up, or that's the thing that's holding me down in the first place. And it's important to acknowledge that, to understand, okay, what is that thing? And fully flesh it out to not only what has that obstacle done to press you down, or whether it's an illness or a family event or what have you. Maybe it's a job situation. What can't that obstacle do? Everyone has limitations. Everything has limitations. So let's take that obstacle and let's actually define limitations for that obstacle. Let's pull the teeth out of the abominable snowman, and make it less scary. So that's really important to go through that process, fully dig into that.
Yeah. Because once you, until you really acknowledge what that thing is and be okay, that's real. Because I think all too often, and I think this is what Jesse's talking about, is we ignore it and we just don't deal with it. Oh, well, that's still there, but I'm just going to try to just do my thing and I'll succeed anyway and just ignore. And instead of just dealing with it, like being like, okay, this is real.
Mm-hmm.
I am here. How do I get around, over, through, under this thing to get the way to my goal? How do I do that?
Yeah, and that which takes you right to step 4 in this process is making sure that you do take action. Take imperfect action. That's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten, and I've applied every time I've applied it. It always ends up working out. You take imperfect action. Remember, think about the space shuttle, the first space shuttle trip to the moon. I think I read a statistics. It was like 98% of the time the shuttle was actually off course. It just required constant correction. It was headed in the right direction. The mission was eventually accomplished, but almost all of the time it was so-called off course. So take that action, get off the bench, and do something about your situation, and work it out as you go. There's never going to be a perfect alignment of the stars and the planets that's going to make it the perfect time to take action, especially with something that's pressing and it's a real need that you need to take action on now.
We deal with a lot of people in the health and fitness world, and how many times have you heard people, and you probably said it yourself, don't be shy, like be honest with yourself. I'll start on Monday, or I gotta wait until I get in shape before I go to the gym. Like, what the gym is for getting in shape.
Right.
Like you can't wait for perfection in order to make things happen. And this is a lot of what drives what Jesse and I do. Like, I think it's definitely like more of my natural jive is like, and I feel like I'm always like, come on, let's go. And sometimes it's good that he's keeping me back. But I can say honestly that without that in my life, there's so many things that I would have missed out on. So I am constantly, like, even right now, like jumping into a live broadcast is like taking imperfect action, because you're just like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I got one time to do it right, and this is what I'm gonna do. So jump in.
No pressure. We're live.
I hope the kids don't come in.
Right. All right, so we'll move on to the second topic, okay? So we talked about overcoming adversity. Now let's talk about role modeling. And this is a powerful topic. And role modeling is not necessarily saying, look, I've got it perfect, or you've got it perfect, or that anyone necessarily has it perfect. But it's more so about having an imprint, making sure that what you're leaving behind you has a lasting effect, and that others in some way have some aspiration to mimic or model that behavior.
Right. And I think as members of, being human beings in a community, in life, in the world, we all have a responsibility to be a role model, because the truth is you never know who's watching you or looking up to you.
Yep.
It could be the person who, you first see in the grocery store and you're buying something healthy and they're not, and they're like, oh, maybe maybe next time I should choose this. Or maybe it's that person who in the gym who you don't even know their name, but they're encouraged because they're seeing you break through obstacles. Maybe it's your kids. I mean, if you have kids, you're definitely role modeling them for them, whether it's good or bad. They are going to do what you do. Same thing we've seen things with spouses, we've seen things in families, mothers, daughters, all of these things, friends. So make sure that no matter where you are in life, you are being a role model, and it's just choosing what kind of role model do I want to be, and take that responsibility to be like, I can help somebody just by making better choices myself.
Right. Yeah, and that really goes right into the first component, all right? Being a role model. Number one is assessing what is your measured outcome. There's an old quote that a tree is known by the fruit that it produces. And an apple tree makes apples. Hey, I got a lot of them. A pear tree makes pears. What fruit are you leaving behind? Because rest assured, you are leaving a print. You are having an effect somehow in your surroundings and the people around you. What kind of an effect are you having? So identifying and making sure, okay, what is the measured outcome of my contribution? And be honest with yourself. Sometimes that may not be comfortable. And that's okay, because good positive change comes when we're uncomfortable with a good honest look and saying, man, I can do better than that. Here's what I'm leaving behind. I want to make that different. That's not okay. So, being known by the fruit that you produce, and taking the step to moving on from identifying problems to actively being part of the solution.
Mm.
And I think right now, looking around you, there's going to be no shortage of folks that are identifying problems loudly, often with half the facts, but that doesn't matter. We need to move collectively toward being part of the solution, regardless of the problems. Yes, problems need to be identified, but let's shift our mindset into active solution rather than dwelling on the
Right.
problems.
And the truth is, it's not going to happen all at once. No matter
Right.
what the problem is, it's going to take little actions along the way to make it happen. And as long, as much as we want like big change right away, usually that doesn't happen.
Right.
Unless it's, usually if that happens, it might be something bad, like
Right.
we've been through recently, right? So instead, start taking those little actions to be a better role model, not only for you, for your kids, for your family, for your community, for everybody.
Right. So the second step that is critical to being role modeling is actually identifying behaviors that need to go. Sometimes that just needs to happen. Sometimes there's just no replacement other than being like, okay, this is something I do that needs to stop, or it needs to change, or I need to redirect how I'm going about that. And that's often uncomfortable. Again, role modeling is not easy. It is uncomfortable to do well. But number two is absolutely identifying those behaviors that just need to go,
Right.
and then taking action on it.
Right, and it might be something little, like maybe I watch too much Netflix or I spend too much time on my phone. Like I said, that makes people uncomfortable. People don't want to hear, oh, I get to take away this thing that I really love. For some people, it's overeating, right? For some people, it's, sleeping in too late. There's so many different little things, but be honest with yourself. And again, if you want to become something, make sure that you have thought out what it is, set up that goal, and then really try to identify like what areas do I need to get rid of in order to be that person,
Right.
that role model.
So number three, stepping into a role or an assignment that you've never done before. And that is so important. So you can't just keep doing the same things that you've been doing and expect the life around you to change. It just doesn't work that way. If you want the life around you to change, you yourself must change in order to create that effect in your life. And so if you've been avoiding a role, maybe it's a responsibility, maybe it's a position on a board of something, maybe it's part of a committee, maybe it's just a simple part of what you're doing in your community as volunteering to be part of something. If you want to change and if you want people to see you differently, get involved. Be part of something that's happening that's bigger than you, and accept some sort of assignment or role that you may not have done before.
Right. And with any kind of change, I always tell my clients, if you stay the same, you stay the same. You can't change if you stay the same. So you have to take that first step into what might be a little scary, a little dark, a little painful, uncomfortable, definitely. And honestly, a lot of times people, they take that first step and that's where they bounce back because it's scary and they dip their toe in and they come right back.
Right.
So instead, we're saying you got to take that step and you got to hang out there for a while. You got to get used to the water, so to speak, and then keep growing.
Yeah. And then it's time to stay diligent to the task. There's nothing that actually replaces doing the work, getting the job done, showing up day in, day out, and putting in the time. If your children see you eating healthy one day, it makes a difference. But if they're seeing you do it every day, if they're seeing you continuously choose the choices that are better for your body over and over, and there's conversations that can be had about why you're doing that and how it can help them and you, now we're putting in the work, we're doing the time, and we're getting the job done. Yep. And an analogy that I like to use to help people to focus on that and stay on that task is, I call it catching lightning in a bottle. All right. So think about this. All right. A lightning bolt. I'm going to nerd out on you. All right. A lightning bolt has like 5 billion joules of energy. It's an enormous amount of energy. Like a single bolt can power like an enormous house for a month. It's enormous. And a thunderstorm has like 20 atomic bombs worth of power. So
it's a little scary.
It is, right? But all of that energy, it gets blown out in flashes, and humanity for a long time has been trying to capture that much energy that gets released all at once. And oftentimes life events are like that too, where we get in these moments of really intense emotion or really intense just everything going on right now is really intense. And it's important that we capture lightning in a bottle. Now, if we can do that, then we can use that power and that energy and release it one little bit at a time over time. And when it becomes hard, when you're doubting and when you don't feel like continuing moving forward, you can pull on that. You can draw on that emotional experience from its origin and just use a little bit of that energy and release it over time.
Right. A little story that I like to share with this is like Jesse describes it so well in his nerdy way, but I'll give you a real life example. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So when our son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, it was really tough, and I know we've talked about this a lot, but it was literally life changing,
It was
obviously for
devastating.
him, for the whole family.
Yeah.
And we were really struggling with it, having a hard time. And I remember him coming up to us in the kitchen. He was 6 years old, and he's just a smart little kid. And he's looking up, and we're just overwhelmed and stressed. And he's like, "Mom and Dad, I think you guys know so much about health and fitness." And he said it in a 6 year old language. He's like, we should help people and families that are dealing with this, that are going through type 1 and need help. And we were like, okay. Like, there would be, until that moment, we just felt lost. Like, there's no focus. There's nothing that I know how to do to get over this or to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, now I have a focus. We have a mission.
Right.
And so we started a nonprofit. Did you want to jump in?
No, I was just saying you're doing
he
great.
taps my leg when he wants me to.
Well, we spent the next
interrupt.
the next 2 years were very difficult in creating a nonprofit. We helped to co-found the main parents and providers of diabetics, the main Peapods, and support community and education for families living with type 1 and its difficulties.
And it was hard. First it was just us, and then we found some other families that wanted to do the same thing. We started a group, and we realized how much work it is to start a nonprofit. At the same time, we got 2 kids. One of them's diabetic. We're still dealing with that reality. We're also trying to we were starting our fitness business, and just, we were young parents just dealing with life, and it was really, really hard. And sometimes there was meetings that went till 7 p.m., 8 p.m. I remember it being so hard on our family. Sometimes we'd have the kids with us. And there were some nights where I'm like, I just don't think I can do this. There was a time period where I was serving as the founding president, and so there's more responsibilities even. And I remember every time I felt unmotivated to want to do it, I would think back to little 6-year-old Bodhi. That was my lightning in a bottle. See, I'm bringing it back around.
Nicely done.
Lightning in a bottle. I could go back to that moment and remember my reason, remember my motivation is like, I need to do this. And we did. And we've built it into, with our group, and it's grown into a wonderful organization now that has helped hundreds of families in our state. So
yeah, and
that was my lightning in a bottle story.
Hey, and it's your turn. It's your turn. What's your lightning in a bottle? How are you going to be a better role model off of a moment that is really important to you? Okay.
And it's often a moment that's really hard.
Yeah.
And so be positive in thinking that this really difficult moment could someday help me, because it brings me to that emotional point where I know I need to change.
Right. So where's this going? All right. So those are 2 clear.
Where is this going? I don't even
There's
know.
2 clear examples right there of resiliency, about overcoming adversity and role modeling. Now those are examples, but what does long-term resiliency look like? The truth is that these are 2 examples that are following a blueprint. There's an actionable plan that goes along with it. Over the past 10 years in working with thousands of people develop themselves, their success leaves clues. And if we follow those successful clues, that we can pattern things. So you look at people successful in business or in finance or in their family life or their marriage, what have you. There's always clues to these things. And what we've done is we've bottled those key success points, and we developed what we call the champion life cycle. And it's not just a process this, process that. It's a cyclical, rhythmic system that you follow step by step from one to the next to really grow your outcome and to evolve into a better person. So we use this system over and over with our coaching. We have a method; it's proven, and by following it, you can achieve those definite, defined goals. And these are two examples of that. So the best of life is a process, not just a single linear destination. So by following that, you're increasing your likelihood of success.
Jesse, I have a question for
Go
you.
go for it.
Did you bring the printout of the circle?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not.
That's
But
going to be difficult.
it is
to
going to be
describe.
difficult. But we're going to make it happen. All right. So part of the champion life cycle, we start people off on what we call the champion wheel. Think of a wheel. All right. Wheel has spokes. Okay. Now, without support from the spokes, you've got a bumpy wheel. It does not roll well. Well, there are 10 key areas of life that we've honed in on that we help people to develop. One of them is personal care. That is self-care is a critical component of it. Another one is your significant other, your spouse, your partner. Another may be your belief system. Another is your family. All right, we got a little graphic here that we pulled up for ourselves.
Yeah.
Your wealth, your community, your legacy. What are you going to leave behind when you're gone? So all of these areas of life are the things that are really the most important. And if you don't have them balanced out, you're leaving yourself deficient. And if you spend too much time on any one of them, the other areas fall short. I mean, how many times have we seen people who are a rich, powerful celebrity whose life is a complete disaster? And there may be an example or two of that.
And there's also like a lot of times, like I've worked with thousands of women over the years, men too, but women in particular, and I noticed that a lot of times they put all of their effort into their family and their spouse, and maybe what that means is that they let go of their self-care, right? And they kind of forget who they are and taking care of themselves. So what we're talking about is, and I'll put a little graphic in here for you guys in the comments, but we want to have a balanced wheel. So if we have 100% and we break those 10 pieces into 10% each, and we need to, make sure that our wheel is balanced. And I don't know anything about cars or other than, I'm not very educated in that part of it, but I'm going to try to talk about how you need your wheels balanced. I know, right? A couple times a year we need our wheels balanced.
Yeah,
right?
it can be that simple, really. I mean, that's a point that everybody can understand. You need a balanced life. And if you put too much effort into one area, you're causing sacrifice in others. But it all starts with giving yourself a good, honest analysis about those critical areas of life. And the great news is that with deliberate effort, you can focus on any one of them and create measurable, consistent results, and learn how to do it, and learn how the process of growth and evolution, so that you can repeat that process.
And we want you to have a
We
balanced wheel of life.
So we want to invite you to a focus group that we are launching. We have refined 10 years of our best stuff into a really clean and tight system that we are launching on August 3rd. And we would love to invite you to be part of this. We're only accepting a handful of people into it because we want it to be very close, focused, and intimate. And we're going to work our way through it.
I already have a handful of calls out with a bunch of people that
Yep.
were in the workshop that will be hopefully joining in. So I want to make sure that if you guys are interested and you want in on this first ever focus group where we're going to be offering a super low entry to get in and get some focus coaching, you're going to be able to choose a goal. Say it's one of those areas on your wheel, whatever it is.
Right.
We're going to help you to get in 90 days. We are going to help you and say, okay, what does your champion life look like? You
Right.
get to define it.
Right.
And we are going to help you to make it happen in 90 days.
Yeah, and I want to put one more point on that one right there. A champion life, what that is about is not about being the winner on the top of a podium. It has nothing to do with that. A champion is somebody that's chosen by their people to be a representative of them. You know, you think about it in like olden war days or whatever, where a champion was selected to be the representation that their fate, they were willing to put their all of their fate into the fate of this one individual who represented them. To us, that's what being a champion
And
means.
it's not so much you have to have be a champ. You can be a champion for your family, your community, but first and foremost, we want you to be the champion of your own life, of
Your
your own
own
day.
life. That's
You
right.
know, of your own stuff. Like you get to choose. You get to write your own story
Right.
of what it is to be a champion.
Right. So we have a link right here and at the bottom of this post here. We're inviting you to a Champion Life kickoff call. Okay, this is complimentary. We're not demanding anything. There's no hard sell. Okay, we want you to walk away with clarity. Okay, we want to give you something. If we're a great fit at that after that point, great, we can talk more from there. But the first thing we want to do is make sure that we're a good fit. Okay, and so we'll dive into that champion wheel, getting clarity on exactly which areas of those life of your life that you may want to work on some of those pieces or make some adjustments to. And then we're going to get clarity on exactly where you are in the champion life cycle because it's a process. And
According to that goal.
absolutely, according to that specific goal. And then we're going to walk away with clear action steps on exactly what to do to achieve that goal in 90 days. So this is not some ambiguous wonder about, oh, what are you going to get for a result? On that call, we'll define something that you can achieve in 90 days, and we will give you clear action steps on exactly what you should do to move forward toward that goal.
So right now, I want you to use that paper where you've been jotting down notes, and I want you to think about what do I want in 90 days? What would be like amazing? What would be what contribution to my life? What could be my champion life in 90 days? And really write that down and get real about it. I want you to think about it. I want you to feel it, and I want you to say, okay, I can make this happen. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get on a call with you. Again, like Jesse said, it's free. There's no obligation to have to join our focus group, although we would love you to. But we just want to help you. We want to help as many people as we can to just get clear, focused, quality feedback and a plan and a map to make it happen.
Awesome. So click that link, fill out a quick form, and send it our way. Book a time, and we would love the opportunity to coach you.
All right. Make it an awesome day, guys.
All right.